A child disappeared at the carnival. Her voice was heard in a tunnel 3 years later. The evening air buzzed with the sweet scent of cotton candy and the metallic tang of excitement. Harperville's annual carnival had transformed the sleepy town square into a kaleidoscope of neon lights and joyful screams. For most families, it was the highlight of the summer, a tradition as dependable as the changing seasons. For the Harpers, it would become the dividing line between before and after. "Mommy, can I have the blue one?" 5-year-old Lila Harper pointed at a balloon shaped like a dolphin, her caramel eyes wide with wonder beneath a mess of dark curls. Sarah Harper smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm, fishing in her purse for another $5 bill. "Of course, sweetie. Hold my hand while I pay." The balloon vendor, a lanky teenager with braces, twisted the blue latex into a recognizable sea creature while Lila bounced on her toes. Behind them, the crowd swelled as the evening festivities hit their peak. Families pushed strollers, teenagers traveled in laughing packs, and carnival workers called out their practice pitches from game booths. "Here you go, little lady," the vendor said, tying the balloon around Lila's tiny wrist with a practice loop. "This way, it won't fly away." Sarah thanked him, took Lila's hand again, and navigated toward the food stands where her husband waited with their older son, Jake. The crowd pressed in from all sides, a living, breathing entity of its own. "Hold tight, Lila," Sarah said, squeezing the small hand in hers. "It's getting crowded." They were 10 feet from the popcorn stand when Sarah felt someone bump hard against her shoulder. She stumbled sideways, her purse nearly slipping off her arm. It took only 3 seconds to recover her balance, to turn back to Lila and say, "Sorry about that, honey." But those 3 seconds changed everything. The small hand was gone. "Lila?" The space beside her stood empty. The blue dolphin balloon was nowhere in sight. Sarah spun in a circle, scanning the sea of unfamiliar faces. "Lila!" Her voice rose over the carnival music. "Lila!" The next 45 minutes unfolded like a nightmare. Sarah's panicked cries alerted security. The carnival's loudspeakers crackled with announcements about a missing girl in a yellow sundress with a dolphin balloon. David Harper, Lila's father, ran from one end of the fairgrounds to the other, checking every ride, every line, every bathroom. 9-year-old Jake stood frozen beside a trash can, his popcorn forgotten, watching his parents transform into people he didn't recognize. "We have the exits covered," a security guard assured them. "No child matching her description has left the grounds." But as dusk faded into night, hope began to fade with it. Police arrived, taking statements and organizing a grid search. Officer Elena Vega, a veteran with the Child Crimes Unit, reviewed security camera footage from the main entrance and exits. "Nothing," she reported to her partner. "She doesn't appear on any exit cameras after entering with her family at 4:17 p.m. They expanded the search to additional footage. At 7:32 p.m., 18 minutes before she disappeared, one grainy feed showed Lila and her mother passing near a service entrance marked "Vendors only." After that, nothing. "Run it again," Officer Vega demanded, leaning closer to the screen. "How does a child simply vanish?" By midnight, the carnival had emptied of guests. Only police, security, and the distraught Harper family remained. Search dogs sniffed Lila's jacket from the car and tracked her scent to the back vendor area, a maze of supply trucks, generators, and temporary storage units, before losing the trail near an old maintenance barn. "There's an old service tunnel system under parts of the fairground," explained Marvin Wells, the carnival's operations manager, pointing to a faded blueprint spread across the hood of a police car. "Used to connect to the town's storm drainage decades ago, but they've been sealed since the 90s renovation." Officer Vega frowned. "Sealed how?" "Concrete barriers. Steel doors welded shut." Wells shook his head. "No way anyone's using those anymore." As dawn broke over Harperville, Sarah Harper sat on a bench clutching Lila's forgotten sweater, her eyes red-rimmed and vacant. David paced nearby, his phone pressed to his ear as he updated increasingly concerned relatives. What began as a search transformed into an investigation. Over the following days, police questioned every Carnival employee, from ride operators to custodial staff. They compiled lists of known sex offenders within a 100-mile radius. They drained a decorative pond on the fairgrounds. They searched every inch of the tunnels accessible from the maintenance barn, confirming Wells' assertion that the old passageways had indeed been sealed decades earlier. No ransom demands came. No sightings were reported. The Blue Dolphin balloon was found deflated behind a food truck, its string neatly cut. 2 weeks after Lila's disappearance, Officer Vega delivered the news the Harpers had been dreading. "We're scaling back the active search," she said gently, sitting at their kitchen table. "But I promise you, we aren't giving up. This case remains open. Lila's information is in the national database." Sarah stared at the untouched tea before her. "Someone took her," she whispered. "Someone walked right into that carnival and stole our daughter. We'll find her," David said firmly, though his voice cracked. "Whatever it takes." But as summer faded into fall, and fall into winter, the trail grew colder. The community's vigils became less frequent. The volunteers dwindled. The media moved on to newer tragedies. Only the Harpers remained frozen in time, their dining table still set with a fifth plate, their answering machine message still featuring Lila's high-pitched giggle at the end. They lived in the limbo of the left behind, neither able to move forward nor go back, caught forever in that 3-second moment when a small hand slipped away in a crowded carnival. 3 years could change many things: the height of a child, the lines on a face, the population of a small town. But for Harperville, one thing remained eerily constant: the shadow cast by Lila Harper's disappearance. When the carnival announced its return to town, the reaction was mixed. Some protested, claiming it disrespected the Harper family. Others argued life must go on. The town council approved the permit with one condition: a percentage of proceeds would fund the ongoing search for Lila and other missing children. The Harpers themselves stayed silent on the matter. They had learned to conserve their energy for battles they could win. 2 weeks before opening day, the carnival's advance team arrived to survey the grounds. Among them was Ray Donovan, an electrician who had joined the traveling show just 6 months earlier. At 42, with calloused hands and 20 years of wiring experience, Ray had seen his share of shoddy infrastructure. But the ancient electrical panels beneath the Harperville Fairgrounds made him whistle in disbelief. "This wiring wouldn't pass code in any county," he told his apprentice, Marco. "We need to rewire every inch before the inspector shows up." The job took them into the partially accessible sections of the old tunnel system. Armed with flashlights and circuit testers, they mapped connections that hadn't been serviced in decades. On the third day, while replacing corroded junction boxes near the former maintenance barn, Ray sent Marco to fetch replacement wire from the truck. Alone in the dim tunnel, Ray heard something that made the hair on his neck stand up, a soft, muffled sound coming from somewhere behind the concrete wall. He held his breath, certain he was imagining things. Then it came again, a child's voice, thin and whispery. "Help me, please. I want to go home." Ray dropped his screwdriver with a clatter. "Hello?" he called out, pressing his ear against the cold concrete. "Is someone there?" Silence answered him. He was reaching for his radio when Marco returned, arms full of cable. "You look like you've seen a ghost," Marco said. Ray hesitated. "I heard something. A voice." He gestured toward the sealed section. "From behind there." Marco laughed nervously. "Probably just pipes settling or rats. These old places make weird noises." But Ray couldn't shake the feeling. That night at the motel, he researched the fairgrounds history online. The search results filled his screen with headlines about Lila Harper, the 5-year-old who vanished during the carnival 3 years earlier. The next morning, Ray returned with a small digital recorder. He positioned it near the vent grate where he'd heard the voice and left it running while working in a different section. Hours later, when he played it back, his hands trembled. "Help me, please. Mommy, Daddy, I want to go home." The voice was clearer this time, unmistakably a young child's, echoing slightly in whatever space lay beyond the wall. Ray immediately called the local police. Officer Elena Vega, now a detective, had never truly left the Harper case behind. She carried Lila's file home most nights, reviewing details until her eyes burned. When the call came in about a voice in the tunnels, she drove to the fairgrounds with her heart hammering against her ribs. "Play it for me," she instructed Ray after introductions. They huddled in the dim tunnel as the recording played. Vega's expression remained professional, but her knuckles whitened around her flashlight. "I need a copy of this. And I need you to show me exactly where it came from." Within hours, the tunnel transformed into a crime scene. Forensic technicians set up sensitive audio equipment, while structural engineers examined the sealed passageway. Sarah and David Harper were notified but asked to stay home. A premature visit could lead to devastation if the voice proved to be something else. The voice recognition analysis came back that evening. 97% probability matched to Lila Harper's voice samples from home videos. But how could a child survive 3 years in sealed tunnels? The structural engineer's report added to the mystery. The concrete barrier showed no signs of recent access, and thermal imaging detected no heat signatures suggesting human presence beyond. "We need to break through," Vega argued to her captain. "Whatever the explanation, there's evidence of a child in distress. Or a very cruel hoax," the captain countered. "If we start jackhammering and find nothing, the Harpers relive their nightmare for nothing." While authorities debated, whispers spread through town. The Carnival workers, already viewed with suspicion by some locals, faced renewed scrutiny. Several quit rather than endure the sidelong glances. Security was doubled around the fairgrounds. Ray Donovan couldn't sleep. The voice haunted him, not just its words, but something in its tone. During his third sleepless night, he realized what bothered him. The voice didn't sound frightened. It sounded rehearsed. The next morning, Ray approached Detective Vega with his observation. "It's like when kids perform in a school play," he explained. "The words are right, but the feeling is practiced." Vega considered this as her phone rang. The lab had completed advanced audio analysis, detecting subtle background noises beneath the child's voice, a faint electronic hum, and what might be the creak of a door. "This wasn't recorded in a sealed concrete room," the technician explained. "There's too much ambient sound. But it's definitely coming through that vent somehow." The breakthrough came when a rookie officer noticed something odd about the tunnel's blueprints. The sealed section didn't match the Carnival's original layout. Someone had modified the plans, hiding the fact that part of the tunnel system bypassed the concrete barriers entirely. "There's another way in," Vega realized, tracing the hidden passage with her finger. "And it leads directly beneath the old storage room." As night fell over Harperville for the third time since Ray's discovery, police gathered silently near the maintenance barn. Armed with the revised blueprints and search warrants, they prepared to enter the hidden access point, and to discover what, or who, had been calling for help from beneath the Carnival grounds for 3 long years. The hidden access point turned out to be disguised as an old electrical panel behind the maintenance barn. It swung open on silent hinges, recently oiled, Detective Vega noted, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The tactical team went first, their helmet lights cutting through the heavy air. Vega followed closely, her heart pounding in her throat. The passage wasn't on any official blueprints. It curved gently downward, bypassing the sealed main tunnels completely. The walls were rough concrete, but the floor had been swept clean of dust. Someone had been using this route regularly. "Signs of recent activity," the team leader whispered into his radio. "Footprints, small and large." They moved cautiously, weapons drawn, until the passage opened into a small antechamber. 3 doors branched off from this hub. 2 were padlocked shut from the outside, their metal surfaces scratched and dented. The 3rd door stood slightly ajar, a faint light spilling from within. Vega signaled for silence as faint humming became audible, a child's voice singing something indistinct. The tactical team surrounded the door, and on Vega's count, they pushed through. Inside was a scene none of them had prepared for, a small, furnished room with bright yellow walls covered in children's drawings. A single bed with cartoon character sheets sat in the corner. A plastic table held coloring books and crayons. A toy chest overflowed with dolls and stuffed animals. And sitting cross-legged on a round rug, brushing a doll's hair, was a small girl. She looked up without surprise or fear. "You found me," she said simply. Vega holstered her weapon and crouched down. "Are you Lila? Lila Harper?" The girl nodded solemnly. "That's me. Are you taking me home now?" She appeared to be about 7 or 8, the right age for Lila, who would now be 8. Her dark hair hung in a neat braid, and she wore clean clothes, jeans and a green t-shirt with butterflies. Most shocking was her calm demeanor, no tears, no running to embrace her rescuers. As medics examined her and the rest of the team secured the area, Vega studied the room more carefully. Something felt wrong. The space was clean and well maintained. There were books, toys, even a small refrigerator stocked with juice boxes and snacks. This wasn't a dungeon, it was a carefully constructed living space. "Who's been taking care of you, Lila?" Vega asked gently. "Mr. B," the girl replied, her expression neutral. "He brings food and books and sometimes lets me walk in the tunnels when nobody's up there." "Mr. B?" Vega pressed. "What's his full name?" The girl shrugged. "Just Mr. B. He said he's keeping me safe until it's time to go home." The team discovered a surveillance system in an adjacent room, monitors showing various angles of the fairgrounds above. Most disturbing was a sophisticated audio setup connected to small speakers throughout the tunnel system. "This explains the voice," the technician said, examining the equipment. "Someone could broadcast pre-recorded audio through specific sections of the tunnels." He pointed to a timer. "It was set to play automatically every few days." While the search continued, Vega arranged for the girl to be transported to Harperville Memorial Hospital. The news of a rescue spread through official channels, and by the time they emerged from the tunnels, a crowd had gathered. The girl blinked at the daylight, her first in years, if she truly was Lila Harper. Sarah and David Harper were waiting at the hospital, their faces masks of desperate hope. They had been briefed: remain calm, expect changes, remember she's been through trauma. Nothing could have prepared them for the moment the girl walked into the room. "Mommy? Daddy?" she said, her voice matching the exact cadence from the home videos police had studied. Sarah rushed forward but stopped short of embracing her. Something in the girl's eyes held her back. Recognition, yes, but something else too. Something rehearsed. "Lila?" Sarah whispered. "Do you remember us? You're my mommy, Sarah Harper. You work at the library. And you're my daddy, David Harper. You coach Jake's baseball team." The girl recited these facts like items from a studied list. David knelt beside her. "Can I hug you, sweetheart?" She nodded, allowing his embrace but not returning it. Her arms remained at her sides, her back stiff. Over the next 24 hours, medical experts ran tests while child psychologists observed interactions. The girl knew Lila's birthday, her favorite foods, the names of her teachers, and could sing the lullaby Sarah had sung to her every night. But she showed no interest in the stuffed elephant that had once been Lila's constant companion. She didn't ask about their dog, Rusty. And when shown family photos, she identified everyone correctly but showed no emotional reaction. Dr. Amara Chin, the lead psychologist, pulled Vega aside after a lengthy evaluation. "She's either experiencing severe dissociation from trauma, or what?" Vega asked when Chin hesitated. Chin lowered her voice. "Or she's not Lila Harper." The DNA results arrived the following morning. The girl's genetic markers showed no match to either Sarah or David Harper. Whoever this child was, she was not their daughter. Vega watched through one-way glass as Dr. Chin sat with the girl again. "We know you're not Lila," she said gently. "But we want to help you. Can you tell us your real name?" The girl's composure cracked slightly. She glanced toward the mirror as if she could see through it, then leaned closer to Dr. Chin. "She told me everything," she whispered. "She made me promise to remember." "Who did?" Chin asked. The girl's eyes welled with tears for the first time. "The real Lila." The interview room at Harperville Police Department had been redesigned for children: soft colors, comfortable furniture, no obvious recording equipment. Detective Vega sat beside Dr. Chen as the girl who wasn't Lila Harper picked at a loose thread on her sleeve. "I'm Maya," she finally said, her voice smaller than before. "Maya Reyes. I'm 7 years old." The name triggered immediate database searches. Maya Reyes had vanished from a shopping mall in Clearwater County, over 80 miles away. Unlike Lila's high-profile disappearance, Maya's case received little media attention. She was labeled a probable custodial kidnapping when her estranged father couldn't be located after she vanished. That was 14 months ago. "Maya," Dr. Chen said gently, "can you tell us about Lila? You said she told you everything." The girl nodded, her rehearsed composure crumbling further. "Mr. B brought her to the room first. She was already there when he took me. She taught me all about her family because she said someday I'd need to know." "Why would you need to know?" Vega asked. "Because Lila said if I remembered everything about her, someone would find us." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "She made me practice every day. Her birthday, her mommy's name, her daddy's job, her brother's baseball team, her favorite songs." The words tumbled out faster. "She made me promise if I ever got out, I'd tell everyone she was real. That I wasn't making her up." "Where is Lila now?" Chen asked, her tone carefully neutral. Maya's small shoulders slumped. "Mr. B took her away. He said she was special, that someone important wanted her." She twisted the thread between her fingers. "He said I was lucky he kept me instead of selling me too." The room went silent except for the soft whir of the air conditioning. Vega and Chen exchanged a glance, years of professional experience not quite preparing them for this moment. "When did he take Lila away?" Vega finally asked. "After my first birthday in the room. I've had 2 birthdays there." Maya frowned in concentration. "It was cold outside. Mr. B wore his big coat when he came. Did Lila want to go with him?" Maya shook her head vigorously. "She screamed and hit him. Then he gave her medicine that made her sleep." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "He wrapped her in a blanket and carried her away. When he came back, he was alone." The implications were staggering. Lila Harper had been alive for at least a year after her abduction, held in that underground room with Maya, before being taken elsewhere, possibly sold into a trafficking network. "Maya," Vega said carefully, "can you describe Mr. B for me?" The description Maya provided matched no Carnival employee on record. She described a tall man with a scar near his eye, who wore work clothes and smelled like cigarettes and something metallic. He came every few days with food and supplies, sometimes bringing books or toys as rewards for being good. He made the voice messages, Maya explained. He recorded Lila before he took her away. He said it was a game to keep people looking in the wrong place. She demonstrated how he positioned a microphone in front of Lila. He made her say the same thing over and over until it sounded right. As Maya continued talking, a more complete picture emerged. The man used the tunnels to move between different Carnival locations, always staying near enough to monitor his hidden room but never working directly with the main Carnival staff. He used various names but told the girls to call him Mr. B. Sarah and David Harper waited in an adjacent room, watching the interview on a monitor. Sarah pressed her hands against her mouth as Maya described how Lila would cry for her mother at night during the first months. "She believed you were looking for her," Maya said when they were eventually brought in. "Every day she said her parents would find her. She taught me your special lullaby." With startling accuracy, Maya began singing the Norwegian lullaby Sarah's grandmother had taught her, a song never recorded, never shared outside the family. David knelt before Maya, tears streaming down his face. "You were very brave to remember everything Lila taught you." Maya nodded solemnly. "I promised her. When Mr. B started playing her voice in the tunnels, I knew someone might hear. I practiced being her every day so I'd be ready." The deception had been cruelly effective. By creating periodic sightings of Lila through the recorded voice, The abductor kept authorities focused on the carnival grounds while potentially moving her far away. Without Maya's capture and testimony, no one would have known Lila had been removed from the tunnels over a year ago. That evening, as Maya slept under police protection at the hospital, the investigation shifted focus. If Lila had been sold, as Maya suggested, they were now looking for a trafficking network, not a single abductor. Sheriff Thomas called an emergency meeting with the FBI Child Exploitation Task Force. "We need to identify this Mr. B immediately," he insisted. "He's our only link to where Lila Harper might be now." Agent Kimberly Walsh, newly assigned from the Bureau's Crimes Against Children unit, studied the case files with methodical precision. The voice recordings were strategic. She noted. He wanted search efforts focused here while he operated elsewhere. But why return to Harperville at all? Vega questioned. Why risk coming back? Because his system worked, Walsh replied grimly. Underground rooms near traveling carnivals. It's mobile, low risk, and provides cover for movement. I'd bet there are more rooms in other locations. As the investigation expanded, Maya began therapy with Dr. Chen. During their third session, while drawing a picture of the underground room, Maya suddenly stopped. I forgot something important, she said, her crayon hovering over the paper. About where Mr. B might have taken Lila. What is it, Maya? Chen asked. He had a special box with photos of other girls. He said they were living in better places now. Maya's eyes narrowed in concentration. And he had a map with red stars on it. Lila said the stars were other carnivals. For the first time since Lila's disappearance, they had something concrete to pursue, a pattern, a method, and possibly a network. What they still lacked was a name, the true identity of the man who had orchestrated this elaborate scheme. But that was about to change. The Carnival's personnel records stretched back 15 years, a disorganized collection of W-2 forms, work permits, and hastily scribbled applications. Agent Walsh, Detective Vega, and a team of analysts commandeered the Harperville Community Center to sort through them all, creating a detailed timeline of every worker who had passed through the traveling show. Focus on maintenance and electrical workers, Walsh instructed. Someone with access to the infrastructure, knowledge of the tunnels, and technical skills to set up that recording system. 3 days into their search, Officer Ramirez discovered a personnel file for a Franklin Beringer, hired as an electrical technician 6 months before Lila's disappearance. His employment ended abruptly 3 days after she vanished. Listed reason: family emergency, did not return. Got a photo ID? Vega asked, suddenly alert. The grainy staff photo showed a man in his 40s with a thin face and the beginning of a receding hairline. Most notably, a pale scar curved along his right temple, exactly as Maya had described. That's him, Vega said quietly. Get this to Maya for confirmation. When shown the photo, Maya's reaction left no doubt. She shrank back against her chair, wrapping her arms protectively around herself. That's Mr. B, she whispered. Is he coming back? With a positive identification, Beringer's history unfolded like a map of calculated movements. Born Franklin Joseph Beringer in Nebraska, he had a minor record, misdemeanor theft, trespassing, but nothing suggesting the sophistication of his current operation. He had worked for various traveling shows over 20 years, always in technical or maintenance roles that granted him access to infrastructure. Most damning was the pattern Agent Walsh uncovered. 5 children had disappeared within a 50-mile radius of carnivals where Beringer worked. 3 vanished before Lila, 2 after. All remained missing. He's been doing this for years, Walsh concluded during the task force briefing. Using carnival infrastructure as cover, creating hidden spaces, then moving the children through a network we haven't identified yet. The search for Beringer went national. His driver's license photo, along with the carnival staff ID, appeared on digital billboards across the country. Border Patrol received alerts. But Beringer had a 3-year head start and evident skill at disappearing. We need to get ahead of him, Vega insisted. If he has a pattern, what's next in his sequence? The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Ray Donovan, the electrician who first heard the voice, approached Vega with a theory. "I've been reviewing the Carnival's upcoming schedule," he explained, spreading a map across her desk. "There's something odd about the routing this year." The Carnival's normal pattern was to follow population centers in a roughly clockwise circuit through the region. This year, they had added an unusual detour to a small county fair in Millfield, nearly 100 miles off their usual route. "It's a tiny venue with limited revenue potential," Ray continued. "Makes no business sense to include it. Unless there's another reason to go there." Vega realized. Records confirmed Beringer had worked that same county fair 3 years earlier, right after leaving Harperville. If he maintained contact with the Carnival world, he might have learned about their return to Millfield. Agent Walsh assembled a covert team. "We need to move quietly," she cautioned. "If Beringer is operating with others, we can't risk spooking the network before we identify his contacts." Undercover agents embedded with the Carnival crew as it set up in Millfield. Security cameras with facial recognition scanned the crowds. For 3 days, they watched and waited. On the fair's second evening, a weather-beaten pickup truck parked in the employee lot. The driver, wearing a cap pulled low and a maintenance uniform, approached the temporary electrical shed. He carried a toolbox and moved with the confidence of someone who belonged there. The facial recognition system pinged. Despite the cap and newly grown beard, the algorithm confirmed, Franklin Beringer, 97% probability match. The arrest team moved in silently, surrounding the shed before he emerged. When Beringer stepped out, Agent Walsh was waiting. "Franklin Beringer, FBI. You're under arrest for the kidnapping of Lila Harper and Maya Reyes." His expression shifted from shock to resignation in seconds. He made no attempt to run or resist as they took him into custody. At the field office interrogation room, Beringer sat unnervingly still, his cuffed hands folded neatly on the table. He answered preliminary questions with mechanical precision, confirming his name, birth date, and understanding of his rights. "Where is Lila Harper?" Agent Walsh asked, placing the child's photo before him. Beringer studied it with detached interest. "Safe. Better off." "What does that mean?" "It means," he said with unsettling calm, "that some children deserve better families than the ones they're born into." For 18 hours, he revealed nothing substantive, repeating variations of the same phrase. "She's safe. She's with people who deserved her." The breakthrough came when Detective Vega changed tactics, sliding Maya's drawing of the underground room across the table. "You made mistakes, Frank." Maya remembered everything. Something in Beringer's composure cracked. She wasn't supposed to be found. The voice recordings were perfect timing. "Where is Lila Harper?" Vega asked again. "You think I'm a monster," he said, leaning forward slightly. "But I saved these girls from worse lives. I found them better homes where they'd be cherished." "You sold them," Walsh corrected flatly. "I placed them," he countered. "Do you know how many wealthy families want children but can't have them? How much they'll pay?" His voice took on a defensive edge. "I gave these girls better lives than they would have had." "Tell us where Lila is," Vega pressed. "And the prosecutor might consider that during sentencing." Beringer hesitated, weighing his options. Finally, he nodded toward the map on the wall. "Chestnut Creek. The McKinnon farm. But she won't be Lila Harper anymore." Within the hour, FBI teams were mobilizing toward a remote property in Chestnut Creek, 2 states away. While Beringer began confessing to a trafficking operation spanning a decade, the race to find Lila, if she still existed, had entered its final phase. Dawn broke over Chestnut Creek as the FBI tactical team took positions around the McKinnon farm. The property sat isolated at the end of a gravel road, a white 2-story farmhouse with green shutters, a red barn, and fields of corn stretching toward the horizon. It looked like a scene from a storybook, peaceful and ordinary. Agent Walsh coordinated from a command vehicle parked a quarter-mile away. "Approach with extreme caution," she instructed the team. According to Beringer, the McKinnons believe they legally adopted this child. They may be victims of fraud themselves. Detective Vega sat beside her, having earned a place in this final chapter of the investigation. The Harpers waited miles away at a local police station, simultaneously hopeful and terrified. 3 years of searching had culminated in this moment. The tactical team reported the property coming to life, lights switching on inside the house, chimney beginning to smoke. At precisely 7:15 a.m., agents approached the front door, announcing their presence as local police secured the perimeter. A middle-aged man answered, his confusion turning to shock as agents explained why they were there. Behind him, a woman appeared in a bathrobe, her hand flying to her mouth. "Emma!" The woman called frantically toward the staircase. "Emma, come down here right now!" Moments later, small footsteps descended the stairs. A girl of about 8 appeared, dark hair falling around her shoulders, wearing blue pajamas with stars. She looked nothing like the happy 5-year-old from the Harpers' photographs. Her hair was shorter, her face more angular, yet Vega recognized her instantly. "Lila," she whispered, though the girl was too far away to hear. The next hours unfolded with careful precision. The McKinnons, James and Patricia, produced adoption paperwork that, while convincing, had been processed through an agency that didn't exist. They had paid over $200,000 to adopt Emma Grace, a child they were told had been surrendered by a mother who couldn't care for her. Their distress appeared genuine as they learned the truth. Child psychologists approached Lila, or Emma, as she now called herself, with extraordinary caution. 3 years with the McKinnons had overwritten much of her previous life. She had no conscious memory of being Lila Harper, of being abducted, or of her time in the underground room with Maya. DNA tests confirmed her identity beyond doubt. She was indeed Lila Harper, the girl who had vanished from a carnival 3 years earlier, the child whose disappearance had haunted a town and broken a family. The McKinnons, after extensive questioning, were not charged. Evidence suggested they had been sophisticated Marx and Behringer's scheme, not willing participants. Their heartbreak was real as they realized the child they had raised for 2 years had been stolen. "How do we tell her?" Sarah Harper asked Dr. Chin, as they prepared for the reunion. "How do we explain any of this?" "With patience," Chin advised. "She's built a life as Emma. That identity is real to her. Becoming Lila again will take time." The reunion happened in a neutral space, a comfortable room at the Chestnut Creek Community Center with toys, books, and space to move. Sarah and David entered first, briefed to follow Lila's lead and not to expect immediate recognition. Lila/Emma entered cautiously, holding the hand of a social worker. She studied the Harpers with wary curiosity. "Hello?" she said politely. "Are you my real parents?" Sarah knelt at eye level. "We've been looking for you for a very long time," she said, her voice breaking. "Your name was Lila, and we loved you very much." Something flickered in the girl's eyes, not recognition, exactly, but something deeper. "Did I have a brother named Jake?" David nodded, tears streaming freely. "You did. You do. He's been waiting to see you too. I have dreams about a boy," she said thoughtfully. "And a dog named Rusty. Rusty's still with us," Sarah whispered. "He sleeps on your bed sometimes." The girl took a tentative step forward. Can I see a picture of us? From before?" David gently offered a family photo from his wallet. Lila studied it with intense concentration, tracing her finger over her younger self. "I remember this day," she said suddenly, her voice taking on a dreamy quality. "We had ice cream after. Jake dropped his and cried. It wasn't an immediate reunion of joyful embraces that television might portray. It was something more profound, the slow awakening of buried memories, the careful reconnection of severed bonds. By the end of the session, Lila had cautiously agreed to visit the Harper home, though she would remain in temporary foster care during the transition. 2 weeks later, as Lila was gradually reintegrating with her family, Maya Reyes faced an uncertain future. Her mother had died while she was captive, and her father remained missing. The foster system awaited. "We want to apply for guardianship," Sarah Harper told social services. "Maya saved our daughter. She kept Lila alive in our hearts and gave us the truth we needed to find her. When the two girls finally met again, their interaction defied expectation. Though Lila had no conscious memory of Maya, something instinctive passed between them, a bond forged in darkness that transcended Lila's amnesia. "You were my friend," Maya said simply. "In the room under the carnival." Lila studied Maya with curious intensity. "Did I teach you a special song?" Maya nodded and softly began singing Sarah's family lullaby. Lila closed her eyes, swaying slightly to the familiar melody. When she opened them again, she reached for Maya's hand. "I remember your voice," she whispered. "It was like a light in the dark." Beringer's confession led to the rescue of 3 more children from similar situations. His trafficking network unraveled as investigators followed the money trail. The carnival's owners, devastated by their unwitting role in his schemes, established a foundation to help reunite missing children with their families. 1 year later, the Harperville Carnival came again. This time, Lila and Maya stood together near the Ferris wheel, surrounded by both police officers and family. The old maintenance barn had been demolished, the tunnels beneath permanently filled with concrete. "Are you scared?" Maya asked, watching Lila stare at the colorful lights. Lila shook her head, her expression resolute. "I'm not letting anyone steal my life again." She took Maya's hand, and together they stepped forward into the bright lights and music, reclaiming piece by piece what had been taken from them both in the shadow of the carnival.